An unseasonably sunny day in late September greeted the Boss Ireland competitors for round 4 and 5 of their championship, hosted by the Motor Enthusiast Club at a gated Mondello Park. It was a diminished but quality field after the hype of the Leinster Trophy weekend just 2 weeks ago. Indeed, that tight turnaround in this rescheduled calendar at the end of 2020 must be putting pressure on these privately run teams. The big open single-seaters and sports cars qualifying session was later in the morning than a fortnight ago, so the track was in prime condition, and this was reflected in a near record-breaking 50.269 for Cian Carey in the Dallara F317 on the national circuit. Rabbitt forced a remarkable performance from his Formula Renault to claim second on the grid with a low 51, with Paul O'Connell third, achieving a 51 also, a personal target for a long time. But the bar continues to rise. Joe Courtney had to pull in straight away with a carryover problem from his dramatic off that brought out those red flags at the Leinster Trophy.
Unfortunately, broke his CV joint just literally going up the pit lane, so got going, but the lads had told me that I heard something clicking, and I got out and knew straight away something was wrong, so I did half of that, came back in and found the outer CV joint gone. I have one there, it's back together, so it's disappointing starting the back of the grid, but look, it could be worse. The car is back together and we'll hopefully get a clean race now.
Fergus Farty, who was third in the championship after round 3, was having a strange gear selection issue, with the car automatically shifting up the gears. Despite expert help swapping gearbox and loom components, it unfortunately couldn't be sorted on the day. With a smaller field, Mark Dempsey was delighted to be qualified in the top 10 and was trying different tyres.
Happy enough, Senan. Yeah, I qualified, I think, 9th on the grid there, so happy enough. There seems to be a bit more grip in these tyres I have there now. The tyres I had last week were they're Pirellis, they're hard tyres. So yeah, just a matter of getting used to it again, do a few more laps down the race. The times are a bit down still, but it's only a matter of time getting used to the car. Just go back to first day testing. If we get back to that pace, I'll be happy enough, you know.
He's picked up a few tips from the visitors who joined the class on the previous weekend.
I'm on A-bonds now, and they're completely different tyre. I was talking to one of the lads from Leastone there, and he's using A-bonds, and I tell you, they are trying to go for motorbike engine cars, you know, so just see a new pair of these ones next year.
Peter Dwyer was having to take a seat after a shock exposure in qualifying.
Yeah, bodywork came off a bit there in qualifying that shouldn't have, but car is running good. Just giving her a check over on everything, so all good. I wish I was qualifying a bit better. I was able to go quicker yesterday. I'm nearly 2 seconds slower today. I'm putting that down to age again. It's the old crowd I'm hanging around with here. I see Donald Griffin there behind me.
He has a plan to outfox those young guns while they distract each other on the first corner.
I've already worked my track around them. When they're all in a little bundle at the first corner, I'll go to the grass and get around them.
Shane Rabbitt had managed to get a bit more preparation in ahead of this race day than the last.
So we got a half day done on Friday. The car was the quickest I've done the car yet, so we happy with the progress, but we're not happy with the times yet.
There was, however, one issue that wasn't quite ironed out.
We're overheating the rear left tyre after about 5 or 6 laps, so that's in the race that's going to be a problem. So I'm going to have to try manage the rear left a little bit, try prolong the speed. There's no point coming out of the box 100% because I'll run out of tyre, I'd say, halfway through the race. So let's try manage it a small bit.
Sylvie Mullis had qualified 4th, with Michael Roach directly behind him on the grid for race 1. They seem to have found a lot in common.
Excel climbers, yeah.
I thought you were going to say we're old fellas as well there.
After battery issues the last time out, Sylvie seemed to be fully charged. Well, his car anyway.
Yeah, we've that sorted, new battery fitted. Yeah, okay, I think I need a new battery now for myself. Shake the cobwebs off me. But yeah, look, we're getting there, we're at set up in the car, and yeah, we're improving, even from yesterday we're improving times, but it's harder than I thought. But we're getting there, slowly but surely.
Getting there? Michael was going nowhere for a tense moment after a qualifying spin. Shane Rabbitt managing to go around the outside there, and Eamon Matheson doing well to get slowed up and pass in front. Michael was soon underway again. What happened?
Yeah, I went down too many gears. I ran out of talent. But yeah. But lucky enough for him and missed me.
They too were both looking forward to this race start.
I'm following him, I'm behind him on the grid, so I'm depending on him to make a good start, and I'm going to stick in under his back wing there.
Well, yeah, we were just saying it back in the day when I was driving this quite a bit. Yeah, it was awesome off the line. Just still not 100% there yet off the line with it. We've a lot of, it's different the back of it from the track. And the hills, of course, you have the back of it soft, so it bends in and goes. So you're losing that a little bit now for more corner speed. But look, still, there's loads of horsepower. So if we can hack it up in the line, yeah, it'd be great. Great to get in front of the lads for a couple of laps, even just to see what way we'll back them up a little bit for a few laps.
Talking about getting out in front, Eamon Matheson had sorted his shock absorber issue from earlier in the month.
Shock's working well. Happy man now.
He'd survived that moment, avoiding Michael's spin, to claim 5th on the grid, actually beside Roach. There'd be no holding back.
It's going to be quite an intense start for some of the lads that are ahead on the grid, and they're all wondering what's going to happen if they see this green flash.
Yes, I hope so. I can't hold back.
Fresh from his Leinster Trophy win, Paul O'Connell discussed the ever-increasing pace of this class.
It's amazing. We've been racing here for, I've been racing for 3 years, trying to do a 51. I eventually managed to do a 51, and I'm on the second row of the grid, in 3rd position, behind, very close to Cian Carey, to Barry Rabbitt and Cian Carey on lap record pace. It's amazing, to be fair, pace that's come in the class. I mean, back in the day, doing a 51 2 or 3 years ago, you'd have won by a mile and nobody would have seen where you went. But it's just gotten so competitive. There's so many really good cars and really fast cars, great drivers, and then me. And yeah, no, it's brilliant. It's really, really cool.
Was there a plan for the first corner?
There is no plan. I've often had plans in the first corner and they never go to plan. So I'm in 3rd, boxed in at the wall. I'd actually prefer to be in 4th. So I'm depending on Cian getting a good start, Barry getting a reasonable start and making room. I've Sylvie Mullins in a 4-litre Formula 1 engine Judd beside me, who's also an ex-hill climb champion. So he rarely makes a bad start. I've him to worry about. And if that wasn't bad enough, I've Eamon Matheson in a, I don't know, whatever it is, 600 horsepower turbocharged Jade car right behind me. And Eamon is phenomenal off the start line.
Also lining up for a great start was Barry Rabbitt in the Formula Renault.
Happy with that. It's about as all we could hope to expect with the Formula Renault. So again, once again, we're a sandwich, we're in an F3 sandwich with Cian alongside us in the F318, and then Paul in the F308 with the big engine. So yeah, happy with that. Serious times for the class as a whole, I think, to be into the 51s, low 51s. So yeah, I'm happy with what we did, and see if we can maybe jump to the front for a lap or two and see where we go.
He had modest ambitions for the race.
To be up amongst Cian, who's done a phenomenal time, 50.2, which is right on the outright lap record. So I think Cian will be running and hiding a little bit. So if I could get a podium at all, I'd be happy.
Cian Carey on pole position was pleased to be finding such times in his car.
Yeah, delighted with that. Really good time. I didn't think that time was in the car, to be honest, but it just came to me out there. So now that I've done a 50.2, that's very close to the lap record. So if I can do it in the race, we'll push on and hopefully go for more.
The championship leader was expecting Barry to make a strong start.
That's not, I know for a fact I won't be leading into turn 1, but we'll have some fun. I'm sure myself and Barry, it'll be as good as ever.
There was some very determined tyre warming at the end of the first warm-up lap. The excitement was building. This is how our grid looked. As the lights went out, the cars immediately appeared over the crest in the main straight. Mullins had used that F1 power and hill climb experience to launch and go around the outside of Rabbitt and over in front of Carey. Almost 3 abreast around turn 1, Barry dropped back but had the line for turn 2, forcing Cian back to 3rd. Matheson was boxed in and O'Connell established himself in 4th ahead of him. Courtney had made it up to 9th from Dempsey. By the last corner of the lap, O'Connell was up to 3rd and challenging Carey onto the straight, getting a little tow from the screaming Judd into 2nd place by the first turn of lap 2. Matheson got a nose past Barry Rabbitt over the line, but not enough to secure the position by the corner. Shane Rabbitt was 6th with Roach alongside on the straight, but like his brother, had the line for the corner. Peter Dwyer was keeping in touch in 8th, with Joe Courtney fully operational again in 9th. Mark Dempsey was missing his usual sparring partners to compare his newfound grip. On the final turn of lap 2, you could really see the Dallar's cornering advantage over the Gould, and indeed its power over the Formula Renault on the straight. Cian was looking all around the back of Barry's car. Eamon Matheson 5th, Shane Rabbitt 6th, Michael Roach 7th, and Joe Courtney closing on Peter Dwyer's 8th. A nice crackle out of the motorcycle engine in Mark Dempsey's OMS as he goes down the gears for turn 1. The end of lap 3 and O'Connell goes wide, perhaps planning a move outside Mullins, allowing Rabbitt and Carey up the inside. The Renault leads for a moment until the Gould blasts past, but Barry deftly passes around the outside of turn 1, with O'Connell managing to follow through and take 3rd back from Carey. Meanwhile, Courtney had moved up ahead of Dwyer. Dempsey, now enjoying a spell of reliability from the OMS, he can concentrate on learning his different tyres. Completing lap 4, Rabbitt had established a great lead from O'Connell, who had gotten past Mullins, who Carey was alongside, coming onto the straight, but Mullins' car has incredible straight line speed, so Cian was firmly in 4th at the beginning of lap 5. Shane Rabbitt, Michael Roach and Joe Courtney were now starting to get a little bunched up behind the Jade of Matheson, while Peter Dwyer continued to rumble around in the Nissan V6. Dempsey was just starting his lap 5 as Rabbitt was completing his. O'Connell not yet threatening him. Carey was right up the inside of Mullins again at the beginning of the straight, but had no chance to make it stick. This time he had a good look past at the end of turn 1, but had to concede entering 2. No change behind Matheson at the beginning of lap 6. You can see that missing piece of bodywork on Dwyer's Lola just behind them. As Dempsey completes lap 5, Barry Rabbitt's lead over Paul O'Connell is starting to look a little under threat. Cian Carey has escaped the clutches of Sylvie Mullins. You can really see the Gould's tendency to understeer here on the beginning of lap 7. Behind Eamon Matheson, Michael Roach has passed a sideways Shane Rabbitt. Was that rear left starting to overheat as expected? Could Courtney capitalise too? A little oversteer for Dwyer's Lola here as well. Barry Rabbitt was now having to defend his position from Paul O'Connell. This could allow Cian a bit of time to catch up. He safely passes Mark Dempsey now, a lap down on the leaders. Sylvie Mullins was trying to shake that understeer into oversteer at the first corner of lap 8. Roach was now free of Matheson, and Courtney and Shane Rabbitt had also slipped through ahead of the Jade. Peter Dwyer still had a good distance on the leaders before he'd go a lap down. O'Connell just having a look past Rabbitt into the last corner of 8. Keeping the pressure on, Carey still has quite a distance to make up. bull is definitely scraping the ground with its front hooves. Roach and Courtney catch Dempsey in an awkward place, but it's not enough to really benefit Shane Rabbitt. Eamon Matheson in the only sports car on the day. We're missing Tom Cochran on this occasion. Dwyer looks to be balancing the big Lola well as he begins lap 9. As the leaders complete that lap, Paul O'Connell mounts a big challenge on Barry Rabbitt using the power of that Dallara on the main straight, but the Renault holds on as Cian Carey's Dallara has made a lot of ground on them. A little lock-up from Mullins is a reminder of those holding positions to maintain concentration. Joe Courtney behind Roach. He doesn't want to repeat what happened at the end of the Leinster Trophy. Matheson lapping Dempsey now as Peter Dwyer holds on to the lead lap in the classic Lola. At the end of lap 10, Paul O'Connell has taken the lead from Barry Rabbitt and Cian Carey has closed right in. That's a Renault in a Dallara sandwich if ever I saw one. Mullins secure in 4th. We look to see, is there any shift between 5th, 6th or 7th? But the only movement appears to be in Shane's back end through turn 1. It was great to see Eamon Matheson on form again today. And there's another pop from the OMS. The Lola growls past as O'Connell enters lap 12 and Carey has overtaken Rabbitt into 2nd place. Is there enough time for him to catch the leader before the end of the race? It must be a great sensation to blast down the straight in a car like that. Courtney has a look to see if he can outbrake Roach. Not this time. Shane is definitely losing ground now. With the race going full duration, they're really getting stretched out. On to lap 13 and the red Dallara seems to have a good advantage on the silver one. Rabbitt is still working that Renault hard. If Cian catches O'Connell, they may slow each other down. Behind the Gould, Roach is really working the curbs while Courtney kicks up the dust. Shane must be wishing he'd left his paddock mask on. The sounds of these boss cars are just delicious. Sparks from O'Connell as he's safely through lap 13. He's using all of the track. Barry Rabbitt is just about keeping sight of Carey. You couldn't have more contrasting single-seaters than the motorcycle-engined OMS and the V6 Lola. Tidier out of the last corner, and Michael Roach and Joe Courtney are closer to Sylvie Mullins at the start of the straight. Again, we see some opposite lock from Shane Rabbitt mid-corner. Cian Carey loses a little bit of time lapping Eamon Matheson at the end of lap 14, through no fault of either driver. O'Connell also lost time on this lap. Eamon keeps out of the way at the end of the straight to allow the Dallara through with a lick of flame. This helped Barry Rabbitt to keep in touch. The Lola looks very steady in 9th place, with a little weave from the OMS in 10th, a further lap down. Joe can just not find a way past Michael, frustrating for the more recent convert from hill climbing. The end of lap 15 and Paul O'Connor was just recording another 50-second lap. He'd done it on lap 11, 12 and 13 and was maintaining or even building his lead on Cian Carey. Barry Rabbitt's times are mostly in the 52s and 53s, peaking earlier in the race. Matheson's best was a 55, also earlier in the race. Peter Dwyer's best time came on lap 2, but he was getting close to it again in the closing laps. Mullins' time followed a similar pattern. Roach and Courtney were keeping each other honest throughout. Dempsey's best was lap 5, but he was definitely dropping back towards the end. That was not the case for O'Connell, recording a lap record here while Carey collected his only 50-second lap of the race. Is that a little bit of front wing damage on Rabbitt's car? Eighth place Matheson, 9th place Dwyer. Fourth looks a certainty for Mullins, but could Courtney make one last effort before the end on 5th? O'Connell and Carey have safely lapped Dempsey again by the start of the final lap. Barry Rabbitt in 3rd. Eamon Matheson seems to be short shifting between turn 1 and 2. Perhaps it was the threat of being lapped again that was spurring Peter Dwyer on at the end. Sense seems to prevail for Courtney as O'Connell crosses the line for his 3rd race win of the year and 2nd of the championship rounds. A vindicating win after how the Leinster Trophy was decided. 2nd for Carey, really consolidating his championship lead. What would the afternoon hold in store? Mark Dempsey completes the race and Barry Rabbitt makes that podium. Eamon Matheson on the home stretch for 8th. Peter Dwyer gets in 9th, just ahead of Sylvie Mullins 4th, after dropping quite close to Michael Roach, who held off Joe Courtney and Shane Rabbitt. Back in the pit lane, we caught up with the race leaders.
Sylvie got a great start, led into the first corner. There was 4 of us there tussling over a very small piece of tarmac for about 4 laps. I think I went from 3rd to 2nd to 4th to 3rd to 2nd to 1st, got ahead. Great battle with Cian, great battle with Sylvie, great battle with Barry. Got ahead of the guys and managed to maintain the gap from Cian. Then I saw Cian in my mirrors and I was like, oh no, when we got to clear air, he's going to be on top of me now in 2 or 3 laps time. And I just managed to put the head down and just keep going and got held up a little bit in back markers here and there. And every time I looked, Cian always seemed to have got a better run through and stuff. So it was real action stations, all hands to the pump. But no, it was brilliant.
I got a good start initially and then got caught with Sylvie at turn 1. And then I just seemed to get unlucky when I caught in behind Sylvie and Paul and Barry went by. And then I got held up a lot then as the laps went on. Once I seen Barry and Paul go by, I knew I was going to struggle to try and catch them. Eventually I got by Sylvie, got Barry, then caught the gap to Paul and Barry, and once I got by Barry the gap kind of levelled out, to be honest. I didn't have the pace to match. I was only matching Paul. I wasn't any quicker than him to be able to close that gap down, so maybe driving too aggressively because I got such a bad start and held up. But we have another go to do it again now in race 2. So hopefully we can have another crack at it.
Then Paul caught me, and I was, he was quicker down the straight and that, but I was able to kind of keep behind for a few laps, and I was hoping that Cian would then join the party, and maybe we'd have a bit of a three-way tussle, which would release the pressure of Paul for me a little bit, or they might hold each other up. But unfortunately, the second part of the S's is the one corner, the particular corner of this track that really the F3s can take an awful lot of time out of the Reynolds, the extra downforce, general grip, and I had an awful fluff in the car a couple of laps through there, and it was the worst place for it to happen. Just get back on the throttle and nothing happens, and that allowed Paul to bounce then. Then Cian came up behind me and got by me, and I just said, look, I'll leave Cian to go after Paul, and I might be able to pick up some pieces, but ran out of laps and never really happened. But yeah, look, happy enough, it's third, there's no chance of beating the F3s. They're a class above in terms of spec of cars, so to get ahead of them at all is a win for me, and we managed to do it after the race, so no red flags this weekend.
When we were out in qualifying, Peter O'Dwyer's front nose came off and hit me, and we burst one of our race rubber tyres, so we're running on hill climb fronts, which after a couple of laps they're gone, they're all in front of it, it's understeering like hell, so that's what we've got at the minute. But look, on the straight line it's awesome, and once I get around the corners you have to wait until the understeer stops, and then you can go. So we've tried a few things again now. We've disconnected the front anti-roll bar just to see will it help, and look, we'll give it a go, but we were a good bit quicker this morning in qualifying than that race, so we're hoping if we could get down to that pace we wouldn't be a million miles off the lads in the front, and maybe if I could get down to that pace at the start they wouldn't be all over the back of me, so that's what we're trying. Whether it's going to work is another one.
Okay, cars are on track.
Back on track for race 2. This was the starting grid. Again, on the warm-up laps, you could tell minds were very focused on making a good start. The lights went out, and we could see Barry Rabbitt got an excellent start from Cian Carey, and O'Connell seemed to have managed to get across in front of the Gould. Into turn 2, and O'Connell forced the line to get ahead of Carey. Down into the S's, Paul was close in on Barry. Cian looked to have enough ground on Mullins to keep clear on the straight, followed by Michael Roach, Shane Rabbitt, Eamon Matheson, not managing his party trick this time, Joe Courtney and Peter Dwyer. Dempsey had gotten off to a really bad start. Barry Rabbitt had made a bit of space for himself at the start of lap 2, but coming out of the S's is where he said his car had its weakness. But there's no sign of that hesitation in the engine this afternoon. Joe Courtney was starting to work on Eamon Matheson. Little kick out for Dwyer there. I wonder are those tyres up to temperature yet? The Gould leading the pack through turn 2. Through the S's on lap 3, and Barry Rabbitt has consolidated his lead a bit over O'Connell. Indeed, Carey looks closer on O'Connell. Mullins flashes by. Dempsey is already being lapped. Roach 5th, Shane Rabbitt 6th, and Courtney past Matheson now. Dwyer looks like he's still keeping his rears in check. Lap 4 and O'Connell is closer to Rabbitt. Exiting the S's, can he make a move? He has a look. Carey ready to pounce on the slightest slip. Michael, Shane and Joe all bunched up together as Rabbitt makes a move up the inside of Roach. But by the line, the little Renault just doesn't have enough speed on the straight, and Joe is even threatening him over the hill. Sylvie on his own in 4th again. And Shane's safely back in position by turn 2. Into the S's on lap 5, and O'Connell is right in on Rabbitt, but gets a little loose on exit. It probably won't come together here, and he has to quickly think about Carey behind. Mullins looks to have less understeer than race 1. Disconnecting that anti-roll bar might have helped. Courtney makes a move on Shane Rabbitt, but shows restraint here. That's tidy racing. The Lola is cornering smoother now. Just listen to the power going down. Dempsey's just not on his own pace from the morning. I wonder, is he running right? That's a lot of popping and banging. The leaders are well spaced at the end of lap 6. But you can just glimpse how much Paul O'Connell is closing up on the main straight. As Peter Dwyer passes, there's evidence of grass on the track. Could that have been Mullins or Matheson behind our back? Rabbitt, O'Connell and Carey all make it past Mark Dempsey unhindered on lap 7. Joe Courtney has got past Shane Rabbitt and has a good look past Michael Roach here too, and that nearly gives the Renault a look in again. Then the two Delaras take their advantage on the straight. No move here on 8 by O'Connell. Is he lining up for an attack on the straight? Cian closes in, but Paul is fast out. He draws alongside Barry past the line, but he's on the wrong side for turn 1 and falls back to Cian. It's hard to see if there's any grass on the green jade in 8th. This is a really fast piece of track. Carey breathing fire behind O'Connell. Takes a lovely line onto the straight. Mullins was consistently setting times over 2 seconds quicker than in race 1. Joe Courtney had risen to the same point as he had in race 1 and was knocking on the door of Roach's 5th. Mark Dempsey was starting to pick up on his own personal pace again. Eamon Matheson and Peter Dwyer go by as Rabbitt comes into view again, and he is doing a great job maintaining a gap from O'Connell. Paul tucks in behind Rabbitt on the straight this time. Cian looks more likely to spring a move. Roach on the defensive line at the end of lap 10. It sounds like there's something rubbing on Shane Rabbitt's car. Our three backmarkers are bunched together on different laps as Rabbitt appears, with Carey behind. O'Connell now down to third as the marshals wave their blue flags for the slower cars. I wonder how race 1 would have gone if Sylvie'd had this set up then. Roach knows exactly what to do to hold off Courtney. And that noise is still there from the Renault. Lap 12 and it's Cian Carey's fastest of the race as he focuses attention on Barry Rabbitt now. Will the Renault driver be able to hold him off? The pressure is enormous. O'Connell has suffered going around Matheson. Still no change for 5th, 6th and 7th. Will it be unlucky 13 for Barry? Cian works both sides, but the defence holds. Through turn 2 and O'Connell has made up a bit of ground. Courtney is still waiting for the slightest slip from Roach. The leaders tightly packed through the S's. Cian leaves his position for a big attack around the outside of Barry, and Paul closes the gap, leaving Carey on the outside, but that gives O'Connell a lower exit speed and the newer Dallara reclaims its position. Dempsey's times have improved and are consistent now, but not quite as fast as the morning's race. Shane tightens up on Joe in case there's any hold-up lapping the OMS. Carey doesn't go quite so deep this time, and the two Dallaras carry more momentum onto the straight. Cian draws alongside Barry across the line into lap 16, but Rabbitt kept the line, and O'Connell goes collecting silage, as if he didn't do enough farming during the week. Our midfield battlers have all made it past Dempsey, and now they're coming up on 9th place Dwyer. O'Connell looks ragged making up the distance. Carey has opportunity for an attack without watching the mirrors. Paul made a quick enough recovery not to fall back into Sylvie's hands. Matheson having a quiet race in 8th, but he'll collect some useful points in his category today. Shane Rabbitt is losing ground, and then the back end! No move for Courtney on Roach, as Rabbitt picks himself up and carries on. Our race leaders are soon on the scene. Lucky Shane didn't affect Barry's race. That could have tested brotherly love. Cian is still piling on the pressure, and Paul is catching up. Dwyer has a go at unlapping himself. The leaders are on to the final lap. A few licks of flame from the Jade completing its penultimate lap. Is Courtney winding up for a last lap attack on Roach as we look for our leaders? Barry and Cian are past Shane, and Carey makes one last attempt around the outside of the final turn using the curb, but Rabbitt can make the Renault big from here. He takes it over the line. What a great performance in the little car. Cian Carey is second, Paul O'Connor third. That's Shane Rabbitt seventh, in a front row seat to see his brother take the flag. Barry hangs back and they can share this great moment together. Matheson on his way to the finish. And here it is from Courtney. He has a look on the inside and the outside, but it's not going to happen. Roach is fifth. Second place, Cian Carey heads into the pit lane to applause from the marshals, followed by Paul O'Connor. A race winner, Barry Rabbitt, followed closely by his brother Shane. That's Peter Dwyer, who claimed 9th, and 4th place Sylvie Mullins, who found more pace from the car in this race. Mark Dempsey will be happy with another top 10 result. Matheson 8th in the Jade. Here's the finishing order. In the pit lane, we catch up with a delighted Barry Rabbitt.
I am, yeah, I'm thrilled. I said to you earlier, it's like a win to me to lead a few laps at all. So to lead all of them was pretty cool. Yeah, little Renault, the mirrors were overheating on it there, big style for the whole race. Got to the front, good start. All the work's done in qualifying to get on the front row, then got it nailed the start pretty well. Got it into the first corner, the head in lead, and then like Paul and Cian all over me, Paul to start with. Yeah, there's a few places, I said earlier, that coming out of the S's, that the F3s are a bit stronger, and well, most of them have to be fair, but that's the one spot where they can get an advantage and then do you up into the last corner. So managed to just be able to push a little bit harder, change my line through there. We had a little engine misfire in that corner in the first race. We seemed to have solved that, which helped massively. But it was it was a good action-packed race, and it was the longest race ever. Every time I went by the lap board, the start of the new lap, was like, I'm sure it said that time the last lap, but it was dropping down slowly. And then about 3 minutes to go, I was kind of going, right, I think I can hang on now, just don't do anything stupid, no mistakes. And yeah, we come on to get a win. Delighted, really thrilled for that. A lot of effort, and just thanks to everybody that helps out, Shane and the other car, Keith, Barry Butters there, and everyone helps out with the graphics, precision tint autos, and of course pallet storage, /.e, all these guys, and Lorna Flood Fitness keeping. We got to go back there. My arms are a bit sore, but yeah, thanks to all of those, and hello to Andrea and Kyle at home, who unfortunately can't be here to watch.
With 2 second places today, Cian Carey has maintained his championship lead from Barry Rabbitt, and we've now had 3 different winners in 4 different cars from just 5 races. What great sport the Formula Boss Ireland is creating at the end of this very challenging year.